There are events in life that have no explanation. There is no logic capable of making sense of them, no scientific explanation to justify them. Events that simply happen to show us that life is a miracle and that we must make the most of every minute of our lives, because life is a gift that not everyone is lucky enough to enjoy. Today's story has to do with that kind of event, with the miracles that take place around us every day but of which we are rarely aware. A story that will make you cry with emotion, that will make you believe everything is possible, absolutely everything. The beginning of this story took place more than 20 years ago on October 17, 1995. On that day, the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, or NICU, of a hospital in Westminster, Massachusetts, welcomed a pair of twins who are now 2 decades later known as the Miracle Twins, and whose parents are Heidi Jackson and her devoted husband Henry. Needless to say, both the pregnancy and the delivery of this mother and her twins did not go as expected. In fact, for several days, tragedy was near, and the happy outcome that we will tell you about later was not in the plans of the doctors who attended the young mother and her 2 newborn daughters. But now we're not going to talk about that, but everything that happened before this surprising event. Specifically about Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, a traditionally married couple whose only mission in life was to care for and protect their daughters even before they came into this world. Knowing their story will help us better understand everything that happened afterwards, because without the strength of these parents and their unwavering faith, possibly none of it would have been possible. Heidi and Henry Jackson met in high school, and it was love at first sight. Heidi played clarinet in the high school band and Henry was the captain of the drama team. They were both creative people who had a great appreciation for everything to do with art. That's why when they decided to get married, they did it by celebrating a massive themed wedding in which everyone had to dress up as a famous artist. Their wedding was, to say the least, unforgettable. Although the wedding could not be considered a traditional wedding, as you'll rarely see Leonardo da Vinci sitting next to Van Gogh at the same table among the guests of the wedding, the bride and the groom wanted the ceremony to be officiated by the priest. Both were believers, and religion played a fundamental role in their lives, so they did not want to get married without the word of God being present on the most important day of their lives. They married just 2 years after graduating, at the same time that they started working for what they had been studying all their lives. Heidi became an exceptional music teacher and started her own music academy in Massachusetts, while Henry followed the acting path and began working as a supporting actor in several local plays. After getting married, they moved to live in a small house near downtown that they bought with the help of their parents. A traditional American house with a nice backyard and their own garage where they intended to raise a big family, or at least those were the plans. The first 2 years of marriage were wonderful, love was in the air, and although they hadn't managed to get pregnant, they still didn't feel nervous and still believed it was a matter of time. But in the end, it turned out to be something more complicated. "Honey, it's been 4 years now and we haven't managed anything, not even a measly delay. Don't you think it's time to ask for help?" Heidi said to her husband one morning while they were having breakfast when, as usual in the first week of each month, she got her period again. This again dashed her hopes of achieving the miracle of parenthood. "Do you think a doctor can help us? You know how I feel about science and its methods. I like the natural way better. Maybe if it hasn't happened already, it doesn't have to happen. I don't know, there are couples who don't have children and nothing happens," Henry replied evasively while stirring his bowl of cereal. He always tried to avoid the subject, and they'd argued several times over the past few months about the same thing, but Heidi wouldn't give up. "You're telling me that because you're afraid, but not because you really feel that way, Henry. When we got married, we were clear. We wanted to be parents. We needed to be parents. I know you, and I know you're dying to have a baby. Come on, let yourself be helped. Don't be stubborn. Science can also do good things and work miracles. What do you say?" Heidi wasn't going to rest until her husband agreed to let her fertility specialist help her. "Okay, we'll go," he finally replied without much enthusiasm, although deep down he was dying for someone to help them and give them the answer they'd been looking for so long. The following week, and after more than 4 years of unsuccessful attempts, the couple finally decided to see a specialist to help them with their conception problems, which thank God turned out to be a success. The good news is that neither of you are infertile. The bad news is that you will need to undergo lengthy fertility treatment to increase your chances of conceiving a child. Sometimes, even though both partners are able to conceive, when they come together they're incompatible and need extra help. "And that's where we come in," explained the doctor at the fertility clinic. They were recommended by another couple who also had to go through the same thing they did and who spoke highly of the doctor. "Thank you very much, doctor. We'll do whatever it takes. We're in your hands," said the couple, excited at the thought of becoming parents soon. And although at first they didn't succeed either, after 2 more attempts and several months of rather tedious fertility treatments, the couple managed to work the miracle. "Honey, I'm pregnant. It's a miracle!" Heidi exclaimed early one morning when, after being 2 weeks late and taking 3 pregnancy tests, she discovered they were expecting their first child. "Are you sure? It's not a false alarm, is it?" Henry asked uncertainly, not quite believing it. "I've never been so sure of anything in my life. I can feel it in my gut, honey. It's coming. Our son is on his way," she said, hugging him and with tears in her eyes from joy. But the surprises for our couple would not end there, because after the first month of pregnancy, they found out that Heidi was pregnant with twins. The joy they felt when they found out was indescribable, and they really felt lucky. "We're very fortunate, my love. God has not only blessed us with the gift of parenthood, but He'd done it doubly. These two little girls growing inside me are a miracle, Henry. I love you." "They are, and they'll be so lucky to have you as their mother. I can't wait to meet them and see their faces. I know it's going to be the happiest day of our lives, Heidi," Henry told his wife the night they learned they would be parents of twins and that they would be 2 girls. But unlike everyone's expectations, Heidi only made it to 6 months gestation before the twins were born prematurely. And it's right at that moment when we pick up the story we were telling you about the beginning, because it was the night Heidi went into labor that her life changed forever and proved to everyone, doctors included, that anything was possible. Heidi's water broke one night while she and her husband were having a quiet dinner at home. Everything had been going well until then, no contractions out of time, no abnormalities in the medical checks, and yet something strange happened that precipitated the birth of their daughters. When she arrived at the hospital, the doctors quickly attended to her and took her to the delivery room. The doctor who treated her throughout the pregnancy was very clear. The girls had to be born now, otherwise they'd die of asphyxiation. Heidi had suffered a placental abruption and the babies were outside the gestational sac. They had to be born quickly so as not to take any more risks. "Tell me the truth, doctor, can the girls die?" Henry asked the doctor before he went in to attend his wife's cesarean. "I can't tell you anything for sure. It all happened so fast and no one expected it. I can only ask you to have faith and pray. I'll do everything I can to save them," said the doctor with a serious expression as he quickly went inside. After several hours that seemed like an eternity, the doctor announced that he had managed to save the 2 girls, but they would require intensive care to continue. Heidi was also doing well, very weak but eager to meet her daughters. That same night, she and her husband decided to name them Kyrie and Brielle despite not knowing what would happen to them. They needed a name no matter what. "Now they're our daughters and they have 2 beautiful names so we can think of them no matter what," Heidi said through tears as she looked at her babies while they were sleeping soundly. After birth, the sisters were kept in separate incubators as the doctor instructed, in the hope that they would reach maturity shortly. Henry and Heidi Jackson knew their babies should not have been born more than 10 weeks early, but although they were excited about the arrival of Kyrie and Brielle, they soon realized the danger of having them so early. However, against all odds and acting contrary to what was customary in such cases, the nurses and doctors at the hospital decided to fight on for the premature twins, giving them a chance to stay alive, keeping them in separate incubators and monitoring their vitals at all times. One of the twins, Kyrie, started to gain weight. In contrast, her sister Brielle suffered from many health problems and gained only 1 kilo. Unfortunately, almost a month after her birth, twin Brielle's health condition worsened. She was having a hard time breathing, and her heart rate dropped drastically in a matter of hours. Doctors rushed to respond, trying many medical procedures, but nothing worked. That's when Nurse Gail Kasparian, the real heroine of this story, thought to go against hospital rules by placing the twins in the same incubators. Her sense of compassion and conviction led her to pioneer the implementation of a so-called kangaroo care, a process in which premature babies experience skin-to-skin contact with their mothers and immediate family members to establish a stronger bond. Although it was something that had never been done before in US history, what this doctor did set a groundbreaking standard that would change everything. "I know we can do it. I wouldn't ask you if I wasn't sure, Mr. Jackson. I think the last chance we have to save the little one. Let me try," said Nurse Gail to Henry before proceeding with kangaroo care, something that had never been done before, let alone in a situation as complicated as that. "Do whatever it takes, miss. My daughter's life is in your hands. If you assure me that doing so can save her, I can't refuse. Do it," Henry told her determined, though inside he was scared to death at the prospect of seeing one of his babies die. As soon as they placed Kyrie, the stronger and healthier twin, next to her sister, the little girl stretched her arm around Brielle's body. She recognized her twin sister and hugged her little arms around her. And at that very moment, the miracle happened. As the 2 sisters came into contact, the distressed twins' heart rate and temperature quickly normalized and she began to recover. Luckily, a local photojournalist who was doing a story at the hospital was able to capture that wonderful moment, and the news of the twins' miracle quickly spread throughout the country. Everyone knew their story, and the twins surviving through skin-to-skin contact became one of the most important news stories of the last decades. After that day, the twins grew up strong and healthy and were inseparable. As they grew older, they learned their story and said they felt very fortunate for what happened, but that they did not want to feed their fame and wanted to lead a normal life. Their bond was so strong that almost a decade ago, when they talked about their similarities in an interview for a national newspaper, they claimed that sometimes they spoke simultaneously and could tell what the other was thinking. "Sometimes we talk at the same time, or one of us thinks, 'Oh, you're thinking about a song? Yes, exactly the same part,'" explained Brielle, very smiling to the reporter who interviewed them. The girls add that they can read their stories and are fascinated by them. They continue to share hugs, and Brielle confessed that Kyrie's always around to help her when she's sad. The strength of the union of these 2 twins is something that goes beyond the physical, and what these 2 twins achieved that day was one of those things that can only be considered a miracle. One of those that restore your faith in life and make you believe that everything is possible, even the impossible. Did you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen.